I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you considered whether your house is really serving your needs? Hey, I'm Kelly Wilknissen here with Anita Joyce, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks, episode 427, Design Trends Arising from the Pandemic. And we think that given the opportunity to be at home, as we all have been, people are starting to really assess whether or not their homes are serving their needs or whether the people are serving the home. So we're seeing some trends that are sort of bubbling to the top as a result of spending a lot of time at home, and a lot of them are really good. So we're going to dive into those today and, of course, have our hot topic and crushes, and we have a listener tip today for you.
Yes, and how they see their homes, they're using their homes a little differently now. So I think there's quite a few things that have changed as a result of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think the idea of being, sort of sheltering at home appeals to a certain type of person. Like I was like, oh, okay, I love being at home. I can do this. It was probably a lot harder for people that recharge outside of their home or had a difficult time transferring their work to a situation of working at home. So I didn't have as many hurdles as maybe somebody else because I love being at home anyway. I have worked at home for many years, and but even someone like me, I'm looking around and saying, hey, why is this way? Or how can we change that to serve us better? Particularly if you're going out into the world and you're not in your house for maybe 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours a day, you might not be noticing that the furniture arrangement really stinks. Or, or hey, look at how the natural light is in this room, but we're all spending our time in this room. Maybe we should swap the rooms and, make this the office or make this the dining room or something like that. So I think it's giving everyone an opportunity to really take a close look at how their house functions and how it's set up and making changes, whether it's simply changing the draperies or rearranging the furniture. But people are doing a lot of things to improve their living conditions at home. And when we're all back out and going about our business, having had this time to really take a close look at our home, I think it's really going to benefit us. Certainly will benefit us now if you can make your home more of a sanctuary, more of a place that serves you and your needs. But later on, you come home from a long day of working and commuting and whatnot, and your house really functions well, and it's really comfortable, and you really like being there. That's going to be better for you in the long run.
Yes. In fact, I was wondering what this impact this might have on housing sales, home sales. Because I've been wondering about that, and I thought, are people afraid of what's happening with the economy, or they've lost their jobs, so they're not going to be buying a house, or there's going to be more people buying a house? And what I've been seeing, at least from talking to realtors in my area, and talking to people buying and selling, is the houses near me are selling pretty fast. And I was kind of surprised by that, but someone had mentioned to me that people are at home more. And so now they're deciding, well, I'd rather have a house with a pool, or I need a house that has more space because we're not leaving the house anymore. So it really is impacting what people are looking for in a house.
Yeah. And if you've got littles at home, it's a long day with short people, and that could be hard too. But, we do have the time now. And if you have the time, and it doesn't even have to be something that costs you money, it's just really assessing what's going on. I think people also, because they have more time, if you were commuting before and you're not now, you're adding some hours to your day where you can be doing something else. people seem to be a lot more interested in learning about sustainability. If they're going to make changes to their home, should they go solar? Are things more durable? Are things more energy efficient? So giving you the time to really research those things and then make an educated choice is also going to, in the long run, really impact your home in a positive way. Another thing that we've talked about before, and I think we did almost a whole section of a podcast about it, is the need for a dedicated workspace. And so that really is high on everyone's list of priorities, and how are they going to change their home so it can really function for them. So whether it's carving out a space within a room, or taking over a room that was maybe a guest room or something like that, or making a TV room, an office during the day, and then you invite the rest of the family in to watch TV in the evening, something like that. The need for a dedicated workspace is really evident, and I think once you have that at home, you're not going to want to lose it. So I think people are going to be assessing whether or not the home as it is serves that need. And as you're saying, Anita, if they're purchasing another home or moving on to something else now or down the line, you're going to be looking for space in a new home where you can work from home.
Well, and right. And, it's interesting. Our house has a study, and we do have doors, but they're not really very soundproof. And it's not a very big space. And so really for Zoom recordings or any kind of, like for my podcast recording or anything, it's really not been a great space for that. But because we have our garage apartment, which is what I used to use for podcast recording and everything, I mean, that has been perfect for, us to use as a home office, because it's completely isolated. There's no worry of interruptions or anything. So, I mean, I think there may be a lot of more interest in a completely separate building like that, where people can be set aside for working, especially people that have small kids that are walking in and interrupting. And I mean, I still think about that video with that reporter, remember, where a couple of years ago, and the kid's running in, and then the mom's running in after the kid. And he's trying to have this professional video conference. I think that's probably happening a lot right now, where the kids are running in, or you can hear the kids, maybe they're in the other room.
Yes.
The dogs are barking, and I know we've heard of some friends where the dog's snoring every day. Or he's saying it's the dog snoring, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, my dogs definitely do snore, so maybe his are too. I think you make an excellent point there. So, you could really bedazzle this fabulous area as your workspace, and it looks terrific, and you sit down at your desk and you can hear everything that's going on in the other room. Acoustics are really important too. So yeah, maybe the idea that there is an outbuilding that you go to, or like Anita's set up in mine here, where there's something over the garage where you're actually separate and far away. And also setting up your internet. Like you can't mess around now. If you're working from home, you have to have your internet. So maybe internet boosters and things like that. You're going to work that into your plan. So maybe you need more outlets. Like there's all these things that you may not have thought about before because you were out and about in the world doing them. And if you're home and your home is not serving up your internet, you are in trouble.
Right. And I'm just thinking too, with people with Zoom meetings where their families walking around in the background. So it's not just soundproofing, but you don't want people walking around, or maybe the bathroom door opening and closing where it's behind you.
I just have to get something and walking behind you while you're on, making a really important point in your Zoom conference.
That would be so distracting, or, family members that maybe aren't fully clothed or something.
Oh my goodness.
So I mean, it really it does make a difference. And now it's looking like people are going to be working from home for a lot longer. So I'm thinking too, what about all this video conferencing? I think some people not only don't want people walking behind them in the video call, but they want a professional backdrop. So I don't think, they don't want maybe like kids, drawings and stuff in the background, or the dog sleeping or something. So I think there's something to be said for maybe a space that's got more of a professional background than the soundproofing. And then you want good quality lighting. And again, if you're on a Zoom call, I think people are more concerned about that lighting now. And so and then even with it, is it making you look, is the video coming from down below your chin and it's like a bad angle, or is it coming from somewhere else? I mean, all these
If
things.
you're zooming, it's a good idea to Google, how best to place your Zoom camera. That makes me laugh when you're saying the backgrounds, like, the like the bookshelf of all the lawyer books, right? Like, why don't I have that anymore, right? All the statute books, that would be great. You always see that, but people seem so reliable when they're standing in front of that, right? The commercials and whatnot. So everybody could have a fake wall of that. Hey, all thumbs on deck or patio or yard. Does your house have room for a garden? And are you out working in it? Are you tending it? This is a perfect time to do that. And your garden can serve up to you not only solace and peacefulness and zen feelings, but also food and beauty if you're growing some flowers and whatnot. So that is really high on people's list. I cannot tell you how busy I am with my live clients locally, helping them to design gardens, switch up things in the front, even just simply doing some container gardens. People are really focused on it. And I think this is one of the really wonderful things that's going to come out of this whole time. People are going to be educated more about their garden, or at least they're going to be interested enough in it. And it's maybe just not going to be a swath of grass. And they're really thinking about how can that enhance my house, and really not just for curb appeal, because how can this garden serve me? Maybe I want to take my cup of tea or coffee in the morning and just walk outside and breathe deep. Maybe cut a few flowers or pick a cucumber off a vine or something like that. It's such a wonderful thing to have accessible to you, and it doesn't have to be big, but it's really nice if you can get something going and something growing.
Well, I so agree with you with the garden idea. And again, people stuck at home more, maybe more stressed. That is so relaxing to have a beautiful garden, maybe to be growing something that they're actually going to be able to bring in and eat for, maybe for a salad or something. I think this is the kind of thing that I expect to see from all of this, is that people want their homes to embrace them. And that's something that you and I believe in and have been talking about and trying to do for years. But I think other people are getting on board with us and understanding the importance of that. So I'm even thinking about some of these cold minimalist looks and industrial spaces that were really popular for a long time. And I'm thinking that look is going to be out, because I think people are so in need of comfort now, like comfort food. They want a comfort space.
Yes.
And that's just not very cozy and inviting. So I'm predicting that we're going to see much more in the way of fabrics and color and pattern, and just less hard industrial spaces. But I have unless you're a really much bigger germaphobe than I am, because I could see someone wanting to tile it all up, put a concrete floor, and then hose it down every day. Because some people are really hosing off their family when they come in the door, and
maybe you have a hose off area, a tiled area, and you're like, maybe that's your entryway.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah, but
yes,
well,
no,
and I was thinking, but also, it's interesting thinking about how it depends on how worried you are about the germs, on how that might impact the way you design. Because I was thinking about how the Victorians, when they first started, when the bathroom first became a room in the house, and this, it was like another room. They decorated it the same. They had wood floors and rugs and lots of curtains and paneling. And it was not like you think of a bathroom like today. It was more like a cozy bedroom, and it was overdone like the Victorians did everything. But at some point, they became very concerned about germs. And at that point, they wanted to do a lot more cleaning. So at some point, it converted to, rather than wood floors, it's got to be tile floors. And rather than a tin-lined wood tub, they switched to a clawfoot porcelain tub. And, that way they could see if it was clean. It was easier to clean. And so they kind of went through their own changes with a focus on cleanliness.
Oh, I really didn't know all of that. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So in line with the comfort and wanting to be able to, sink into your sofa or take a nap and use a pillow that's on a chair or something like that. Self-care is also important. And sometimes people wouldn't think about that in their own home because you're thinking, oh, spa day with my girlfriends, or I'll go get my nails done, or, oh, I just like to sit and get my hair cut and relax for an hour or so. But we're not getting any of that now. So how can you set up your home to really support the idea of comfort and self-care? We talked about this in one of the Facebook Lives that I did for Team DTT, and we got a really great response to that, and people were very interested in some ideas of how to do that. It can be simply, if you have a bathtub somewhere, maybe it's not even a bathroom that you use regularly, maybe it's in the guest bath or something, set it up so you can use it. Put a candle in there, get some pretty bath salts, make a point of using it. Take a soak if that makes you relaxed, or set things up so you have things in your home where it's easy to give yourself a little bit of self-care, and you don't need to feel guilty about that. We can all use that. I mean, I'm not a person that takes a lot of time to do that, but when I do, I know it really refuels my tank and I feel a lot better and I feel refreshed. And I think we all need a little bit of that now. So even in the smallest of ways, like, maybe if you're working and you have your desk, put a little bud vase, put a little flower in it, light a candle next to you while you're responding to your emails, something like that. Just do a little something for yourself, carve out a little time and make it easy to do it. Because if it's hard, if the tub is in the guest bathroom and you really don't want to get the shower curtain wet and you don't want to use the show towels and, you can't find the bath salts and, somebody needs me, why bother? I'm not going to do it anyway. If there's stumbling blocks to doing something like that, and it's something might not be inclined to carve out the time for yourself anyway, you're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you make it easy and you set up your home to sort of support you, you might, and then you might feel better.
Right. And, I was thinking too, again, while you were talking about the gardens, I mean, what about getting that porch set up for use? Because some people, they may spend more time inside now that they're not going out to a lot of places that they did before. You've got to get out of the house some. And, I've been seeing as I go for my walks every evening, a lot of folks out sitting on their front porch. So I think this is a space that if you haven't done much with it, now is the time to really get that set up. Make sure you have some comfortable chairs. Make sure it's cozy and inviting. Maybe put a little outdoor rug there, put a table, have a place to sit and have a cool lemonade or iced tea. And, maybe a rocking chair or two. But that's definitely some space that if you're not using it, then you're really missing out on a great opportunity to get some fresh air and, another cozy space to hang out in.
Yeah. And again, if you were going back and forth, whether it was to work or driving kids or errands and whatnot, that's probably a space that you just passed through or walked over or, glanced at as you went in and out of the front door. Take it, no matter how small it is, you can fit a little chair, maybe a little tiny table, a little crate on its side, something, and you will expand the living space of your home. And if you've got a bunch of people in there right now, that's a good idea in and of itself. Home gyms. I'm not going back to my gym. I don't want to get my temperature taken outside the YMCA. I'm not going back for it now. I'll support them in other ways when they have their fund drives and stuff, but I'm not going to go back right now. So we are doing that. We're converting the garage. We don't really ever use the garage. Every once in a while, or when we're on vacation, we'll put the car in there. So we got a bike and we got some weights. It was hard to get weights, but maybe think about that. Again, it could be a small space. It doesn't have to be a lot of equipment. It can be some stretchy bands and a place where you can maybe set your laptop and maybe you take a class on YouTube or something like that. But if you set it up and it's there, you're probably more inclined to do it and to use it. And you are going to feel much better if you work out.
Yeah, now that some of this gym equipment, the treadmill and all this kind of stuff, that takes up a lot of space, but you could just get some other things that you don't leave out permanently. Like I've got my yoga mat and I do video workouts and I just kind of work out on the mat and then kind of roll it up. And then you could have some weights that you just kind of put up so that you don't need a whole room for that. But I think that's a good point. People are working out from home where maybe before they went to the gym, but also cooking at home. I think this is the time when people are going to be looking for bigger kitchens. That's a fun activity that we do as a family. And so, it's nice to have the space for us to spread out and all be in there cooking. So I suspect that as people are looking for a new home, they're going to be looking for, that home office. They're going to be looking for a space to work out, and they're going to be looking for a nice sized kitchen.
Yeah. And I'm also seeing as a trend here the rise of the less open floor plan. Because as we've said so many times with so many different things that we're talking about today, you need privacy, you need get quiet. Maybe you want to work out. Maybe you want to have some self-care. It'd be nice if you all weren't in one giant room together. So that might be something that happens in the next house, or it might be something where you can put up a dividing wall, or, if you're even in a small apartment, forever people are doing that in Manhattan, always putting up half walls or dividers or things like that, just trying to carve out some private space. So that might be a trend that is coming on the horizon, when homes are built, when you're considering buying a new home or purchasing an old home. Whereas maybe before people are like, oh, it's an old home, it's all broken up little rooms. But maybe that sounds better now based on what we're seeing and how we're living our lives.
Yeah, and I've actually seen some designs. I hope that doesn't come to this, where it's kind of like a little bubble around people at a table for restaurants. And it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you ever saw Get Smart, the cone of silence. They would put over both of them.
No, but I'm thinking of that John Travolta movie, The Boy in the Bubble, which, I was like, I don't know, I must have been very small when I saw that, but I was very traumatized by that whole thing. Is that what you're talking about? You go out to a restaurant and they put you in a bubble? I don't want to do that.
Well, more like a bell that's on top that's kind of plexiglass. But
like a cloche? A people cloche?
Yes, it's a cloche. That was the cone of silence in Get Smart. So you could talk without everyone hearing. Of course, that's a completely
hilarious.
Private conversation,
Oh, that's so funny.
So that's what I've been seeing, some of this pod stuff, and I'm thinking, if that's what it comes to, I'm out of here.
No, just buy an old house and you'll have tiny little rooms, and that can be your pod. Brightening things up, always a good idea. But I alluded to this or mentioned it in the beginning. Maybe you weren't home for many of those daylight hours, so you had no idea how the natural light was coming into your house. Now you get to check it all out. Probably a great time to choose paint colors, because you can put all those adhesive samples up all over the place and you'll see the light moving around your house all day long. So maybe you want to change your window treatments. Think about that. Or maybe you need window treatments. Maybe during the daylight hours, people are looking in your windows. So different things to consider with regard to covering or uncovering your windows. One idea to consider is maybe you don't need the privacy from inside necessarily. Maybe you can create some privacy outside. It's hard to grow a hedge, with a snap of your finger, or to buy a giant hedge is very expensive, or giant hedging material. But you could maybe get some tall raised beds and buy several bags of soil, fill them up, and then plant the hedges on top outside of the window. So now you have something green to look at. And maybe, the nosy neighbor next door whose window is looking into yours now can't see, because now they're looking through this hedge. So think about ideas that ways you might be able to create privacy from the outside if you don't want to put window treatments on the inside, or you want to have something very minimal on the inside because you want the bright natural light to come in. Another idea to have the sense of more brightness in a room is use a high gloss paint on the ceiling. Now, high gloss is tough because the glossier a sheen is for a paint, the more imperfections you're going to see on the walls. So if you have an old home in particular, or if you have a home that wasn't built really meticulously, you might see some bumps and blah, blah, blah on the wall that you're not happy with if you have a higher sheen. But lots of times the ceilings are pretty pristine, unless you've got an older home with some cracks and things like that. But you could try a high gloss paint on the ceiling. Also work with mirrors. Put a mirror where it's opposite a window, so it's going to be bouncing that natural light around. And maybe, you've got some heavy furniture in that room, maybe a heavy wooden coffee table or something like that. Maybe think about a glass or acrylic table, and that would really lighten things up.
Yeah, and I think really it's just like you've said, this is just really the time with everyone spending so much time in their home. It's a great time to just kind of reassess your home and make sure it's working for you. Add what you need, take out what you don't need, declutter, buy that stuff that maybe you've been putting off, that new chair or something, because this is where you're spending most of your time.
Right. And this is where your battery needs to be recharged. And this is really, in my mind, because we are house lovers and we are kind of homebodies at heart. We love to be at home. But, you don't really have a choice now. This is where you need to be recharged. So your home needs to serve you in that way. So if it isn't doing that, take a hard look and see what you can do. And I bet you can do a lot of things, and it probably wouldn't cost you a dime. And something that is on the rise, which is kind of for a bad reason, but people are having a lot of packages delivered, and there might be issues where maybe some packages are going missing or things like that. Or, maybe you're on a call and you can't get to the door and you just don't want the package to be sitting out there. There are dedicated package areas or parcel lockers that you can get. Now, that depends on, what kind of thing you can have with regard to a mailbox. If you're in a homeowners association, you should check with that. But
so this is a locker for your front porch, not someplace that's an Amazon locker.
Yeah. Yes, it's a locker for your front porch. Well,
I figure with everyone working from home, though, usually you get an email or a text saying your package was delivered. So I think people are able to get out there and get their packages faster.
It's true.
Since they're working from home.
It's true.
So you might not need that. But I think that's an excellent. People are ordering a lot more things rather than going to the store. Sometimes the stores are closed or they don't have the stock. So, or some people just don't want to go to the store. So, yeah, I think that's a great point. And I know for a while Amazon was delivering everything to our front porch, and now they've decided that simply throwing it over the fence is sufficient. So,
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, and think about it. This will end. There will be a vaccine. There will be time when we're back out and everything's back to normal or better than normal, because everyone says maybe normal wasn't so great. We're having a time to reassess normal.
So you're not buying the new normal then. That's
what we're talking about now, talking about reassessing your home. So, things can always get a little bit better. So if you like not going to the grocery store on a regular basis, or things you would normally go out and purchase on your Saturday errands run or something, if you're purchasing them now online and they're arriving in boxes, then maybe even going forward, you want to think about one of these parcel areas. Or even like, I don't have a mailbox. I could never find one I really liked, and I don't want to have one all the way out on the street because it's pretty far, and I would just worry about stuff sitting out there. And so I just got a really great basket, and I let my mail lady know, my mail delivery person, that's where I would like the mail put. And so it's right by my front door, and it fits everything, even small packages. Obviously, it's not a locked thing, but if
Sounds
you're
very secure.
Yes, very secure. It's very charming. It's really chunky wicker. I got it at the Rose Bowl, but if you're finding that stuff is getting chucked all over your front porch, or you don't have a dedicated space, maybe you want to put a basket out front. If you're getting sort of mid-sized packages from Amazon on a pretty regular basis, or whomever on a regular basis, you might want to think about doing that. Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Go ahead. Clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants. BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off. Yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com.
Well, and before I had the mailbox installed in the front yard, right by the front walk, I did have a basket on my front porch for a while, and that's where the mail was going because it took me a while to pick out the mailbox and all that stuff. But, part of that kind of depends on where you live, because where we live, because the neighborhood is over 100 years old, they will deliver mail to your porch if you want. But, at some point, then, no, some neighborhoods that are newer, like when we lived in the suburbs, they would only deliver to the curb. They wouldn't deliver to the doorstep. And then the even newer neighborhoods, it was like a box for the whole neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. I've seen
so
that,
it really, yeah, right. But see, you're in an old house, so you probably can choose whatever you want and put the mailbox.
Well, I picked a basket that was not very secure, but I like it.
Well, I think it sounds fun.
One more thing, Anita had talked about kitchens and whatnot. Food has become an obsession, especially in the beginning, right? When you were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? And how are we going to get food? And how are we going to go to the store? And everybody sort of figured that out. And I think the whole rage about toilet paper has kind of died down, I think, I hope. So I'm not talking about hoarding. I'm talking more about sort of just preparedness or getting stocked up a little bit, like maybe like they used to do maybe in the old days, whereas we're kind of used to like, oh, just stop by Trader Joe's or I'll run into Whole Foods or and you end up maybe taking a lot of trips that maybe you could have condensed into one. But then where do you put all this stuff? If you're buying, if you normally would buy like 2 cans of diced tomatoes or whatever, or 1 thing of mustard, but now you're buying 2 instead, or 3 or something, so you don't have to go back or you don't have to put in another online order. The rise of the pantry. It the trend is for a pantry, but people were putting stuff in there like the juicer, or don't you have like your printer in there?
Yes, I do, and I'll tell you, I really let my pantry, I wanted it very organized. I didn't want it overstuffed. And so I didn't have a lot in my pantry when this thing hit. And I've got to tell you, I was so traumatized by the thought of, running out of my Heinz ketchup, and it has to be Heinz, and my Hellmann's mayonnaise, and it has to be Hellmann's. That I just was like, I just couldn't deal with it. So, I think I have 5 massive size jars of Hellmann's mayonnaise in there because I don't want to I can't run out of that.
Right. So people were using their pantries, especially if you had a lovely, like Anita's is just stunning. And if you had, like a butler's pantry, you put the platters in there, and maybe you even set up a little tray with some cordials or wine or something. It was more of a show space rather than,
right.
some boxes of mac and cheese and yada, yada. So I think that the trend going forward will be to have pantries where, maybe they're not for show. Maybe they're not even that pretty. They're organized. But maybe you have the door shuts or there's all cabinets or something that because people are going to get used to having this extra space for groceries.
Yeah.
And, maybe it does save time at the end of the day that if you go to the grocery store once or even once every 2 weeks, and maybe then you sort of plug in things from the farmer's market or your raging garden that you've got going, your victory garden. Pantry organizers, searches for pantry organizers, so says Google, has been up 40% since this all started. So people are obviously looking like, how can I get all this stuff in the space that I have? So you might want to reassess the space you have and see if it's serving you.
Just put a little extra in there because we don't know what's next.
It's true. You don't know
So I would
next.
definitely be putting some stuff in there.
So definitely get those paleo pops
right.
that I told you about. What's our hot topic today, Anita?
It is more homeowners are playing the name game. And what that means is a lot of homeowners are now deciding to name their house, whereas before, that was not really that popular here in the U.S. It was very popular in the U.K., and it's my understanding that the homes that had a name associated with them, like, I don't know, the Frog's Cottage, I don't know, but some name for the house, they would sell for more than a house that was just, 153 Elm Street. So it's been popular there for a while, but I think here the reason it's picked up in popularity is because so many people are listing their homes for vacation rentals on Airbnb or VRBO or some other service. And I know from my own experience what the first things they tell you to do if you're going to do a vacation rental on your house is you have to have a name for your house. And interestingly enough, because we're bloggers and I had already named my house, which is Cedar Hill. But, this is something that everybody's doing now. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. What are your thoughts on the trend?
I think it's fun. And it definitely lends a pedigree to the home and makes it very distinctive. I think maybe here it felt a little, presumptuous. You have a lovely home in a cul-de-sac in a community and you're going to name it. Like, I don't know, maybe, but why not? Because it really is fun. So maybe you get a little plaque or maybe you just, your own family calls it that. It's not like everybody, far and wide has to know the name of your home, but you make a good point about everybody, renting out their Airbnb properties and things like that now. So it does make sense. I think it's very charming. It's funny because I thought with my house, because, it's older, it's on the National Register. So it has kind of a National Register name, which is a hyphenated.
She just throws that out there.
Well,
it's on the National Register.
Well, it doesn't mean anything except that it's super old and, it got classified because of, I guess who built it and whatnot.
No, it's impressive. Seriously.
The National Register name is just the hyphenated names of the two earliest owners. So that's not, it's not like, Sugar Maple Cottage or something like that. Right, I'm just making names up. And then with my blog name, My Soulful Home, that's kind of like that's not really a name you can use. So I don't have a name, I guess.
Oh, well, I guess that's a good point.
But I have thought about it.
Well, the article says not to go too pretentious on your name. So I don't know, you just.
Well, especially if you're in an Airbnb, that's like maybe like a little cottage and you call it something like, Windmere Castle or something. Misleading.
King's Crossing, Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really needs to be appropriate for your house. And if you're in a subdivision, it probably seems a little more odd to be doing it there. My mother-in-law, when they had their house, they had this summer house in North Carolina in the mountains, and she called it Chinkapin Hill. And it was always so sweet that she would refer to it as Chinkapin Hill. I always thought that was so nice.
Now, is that where it was? What does that mean?
Well, Chinkapin is, I think it's like a tree.
Oh,
if I remember correct. Or it's a, well, I can't remember now. Is that, now you put me on the spot. Is that something that's on the tree or is it called a Chinkapin? Anyway, I can't remember.
Well, anyways, charming.
And that's what it was, though. Yeah.
Charm.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay. What's your crush today?
Well, I was talking last week about, or I guess this was a couple of weeks ago, about my daughter Lisa's room with the pink nightstand.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I know I've talked about this charming rug I got, but today I have the link for it, and it's my actual crush. I think you would like it, even though you don't like a lot of color. I know you like rifle paper, and this design kind of reminds me of the rifle paper.
It's do love rifle paper.
Background. It's got pink and green, and I did sneak in the house, although I'm not sure I was really supposed to be in there, but I did sneak in my daughter's. She's in a group home, and, they have all these rules about who can come and go, but I had to go in and sign some papers anyway, so I just snuck in her room to take a peek. But it looked so cute. Well, I was already in. It was like 2 feet away.
Yeah, you're already in.
Yeah. So, but it was just so cozy looking. And I got the 8x10, and her room's a little bit bigger than that, but just most of the area that you walk on had the rug, and it was so cozy. And that little pink nightstand looks so pretty with it. I'll include the link. I found it on Wayfair. I usually buy wool rugs. This one's actually synthetic. But I did not get down and look really closely at it, but just kind of glancing at it, you cannot tell it's synthetic. It looks like a wool rug. So
I think they're really good now.
Mm-hmm.
The faux
this one's a really good looking one, and so I was very happy with it. And because it's not wool, it was very reasonably priced, which some of them are. So I will share this one. I think you're going to really like it if you're looking for something with a lot of color, perhaps for a girl's room, or maybe for your bed. I would totally do this in my room if these were the colors I was going with, which are mostly pink and green.
Oh, fun. I want to see it. My crush is an Instagram account. If you're not following Joe Rogers, you really should be. It's a beautiful account. And if you at all an Anglophile, if you have sort of a soft spot in your heart for London, you will love it. She takes the loveliest photos, but she just has very charming captions as well. And right now she is cutting roses from her, I think, smaller size city garden, which will just blow you away. And she calls it a tub. At first I was reading the captions. So I was like, where's the tub? I don't see any tub. It's like just a giant vase, or it's like, it's not even a bucket. Like, it's a vase of flowers, but she's like, I threw these in the tub today. Stunning. And then you'll have photos of city streets and front doors of homes and whatnot, and just the lovely way that very British way that she decorates. It's sort of, there's a lot going on, but it's all good. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfast, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. And she is a darling little baby, and sometimes the cute husband shows up, but very few photos of themselves. It's mostly of all around London and in her home, and then an occasional trip when there were trips. So I highly recommend it. I was kind of thinking about our trip last year. We were in London and Paris at around the time that we're recording this. And so sometimes you don't see everybody you want to see in your Instagram feed, right? So I actually sought her out because I knew I would get a little fix. And I wanted to just let everyone know about her in case they're not following her. Check it out. It's Jo, J-O, and then a hyphen, Rogers, spelt with a D. Rodgers, but I'll put the link in the show notes.
Well, I just found her, and wow.
Oh, were you not following her?
No, I wasn't, but I hadn't heard of her. But I'm looking at this breathtaking library with, floor to ceiling bookcases.
Yeah, I don't know where she is when she did that. That's not her house, but yeah, she's someplace when she's doing that.
Yeah, but the house is, but it's still beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, these are wonderful. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, my.
I just followed her.
Oh, yes. Good. Okay. Today, instead of a question, we're sharing a fabulous tip from Connie L. Connie, you are the best, and you have sent us so many emails over the years and shared with us the progress of your home, and we really enjoy it. And Connie has something that she did, and it was just such a great idea that I wanted to share with everybody. I asked her, and she said, yes, of course. So Connie, in the course of renovating/building their home, there were some aged wood beams, but they needed to add some other wood, like some supports and whatnot. And it was going to kind of, in a sense, bang up against these beams, and the wood was going to look clearly new. So what does old ingenious Connie do? But she comes up with this concoction of vinegar, water, and fine steel wool, like the 000 grade of steel wool. She puts these all together in a can, sets it aside for a little bit. So we've got vinegar, water, and steel wool, sets it aside, shakes it now and again. And I think she said maybe 3 days. It was some period of time that she let it sort of mull together. Then she applied this liquid with a brush to the new wood and had instant patina. It does darken a little bit more over time, but instantly you will see a patina. So kudos to you, Connie. So fun today. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. I want to remind you that we are available for design consults. We take on your design dilemmas, questions, renovations, any project you want to talk about, any room, any space. We are here for you. And we really do enjoy doing these. And I think we've helped people a lot. So if you want to sign up for a consult, head to the link in the show notes. It's decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. We hope to talk to you soon.